The bus came to a sudden stop, not because of traffic, not because of an accident, but because an elderly woman screamed. Passengers froze. Phones slipped from hands. Someone gasped, and before anyone could react, a man stood up, shoved the woman with his boot, and sent her crashing down the bus steps. Silence. The kind of silence that makes your chest feel tight. The man laughed. What he didn't know was that the Rock was standing just 20 feet away. The setup tension builds. It was supposed to be a normal afternoon. The city buzzed with its usual chaos. Honking cars, distant sirens, people rushing nowhere in particular. The bus was half full. Tired workers, students scrolling through their phones, a mother bouncing a baby on her knee. And then there was her, the elderly woman. Small, fragile, wrapped in a faded coat that looked too thin for the weather. She clutched a grocery bag with shaking hands and smiled politely at everyone who boarded. She took her seat slowly, too slowly for him. The man, mid-30s, broad shoulders, loud voice, the kind of guy who took up space and enjoyed it. "Move it, Grandma," he muttered. She didn't hear him, so he said it louder. Still nothing. That's when he snapped. "The incident. Are you deaf?" The bus went quiet. The woman turned, confused. "I'm sorry, son." That's when he stood up. No warning. No hesitation. His foot struck her leg. She fell forward, groceries spilling, apples rolling, bread crushed on her boots. Someone yelled, "Hey!" Another voice. "What's wrong with you?" But it was too late. He grabbed her coat, dragged her down the aisle, and shoved her off the bus. Her body hit the pavement hard. A sickening thud. The doors hissed shut. No one moved. The driver's hands trembled on the wheel. And the man? He smiled. "Mind your business," he said. That's when a deep voice cut through the air. A voice that didn't yell, didn't threaten, just commanded. "Open the door. Enter the Rock." The bus driver looked up. Standing outside was a man wearing a hoodie and a cap pulled low. Massive frame. Calm posture. The kind of presence that made the air feel heavier. I said, the man repeated, "Open the door." The driver didn't argue. The doors opened. The man stepped inside, and when he lifted his head, a woman gasped. A teenager whispered, "No way." The man who'd kicked the elderly woman took a step back, because now he recognized him. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he was not smiling. The confrontation. The Rock didn't rush, didn't raise his voice. He walked past the man like he didn't exist and knelt beside the elderly woman, helping her sit up. "You okay, ma'am?" he asked gently. She nodded, shaken. "I think so." He handed her his hoodie. "Let's get you warm." Then, slowly, he stood up and turned. The man tried to laugh. "Yo, it was just..." The Rock looked him dead in the eyes. "Just what?" The man swallowed. "You kicked an elderly woman," The Rock said. "You dragged her. You threw her like she wasn't human." The bus was dead silent. "You don't do that," The Rock continued. "Not on my planet. Consequences." The man puffed his chest. "You gonna hit me?" The Rock stepped closer. Now they were inches apart. "No," he said calmly. "I don't need to." He turned to the driver. "Call the police." Then to the passengers. "Anyone recording?" Every hand went up. The Rock nodded. "Good." The man's confidence evaporated. Minutes later, sirens wailed. Police pulled him off the bus, still shouting, still denying. The elderly woman was helped into an ambulance. Before she left, she held The Rock's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled softly. "Any time, Grandma." The moment freezes. The bus didn't move. No one spoke. Even the engine seemed quieter, like it knew better than to interrupt. The man who had kicked the elderly woman stood frozen in place, halfway between arrogance and panic. His eyes darted, not toward the door, not toward the police that hadn't yet arrived, but back to the man standing calmly in front of him. The Rock. Not the movie version, not the Instagram version, the real one. Broad, solid, still, the kind of stillness that didn't come from fear, but from control. "You're blocking the aisle," The Rock said evenly. The man blinked. "What?" "You're blocking the aisle," he repeated. "Step aside." The tone wasn't aggressive. That's what made it terrifying. The man hesitated. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to puff up, to assert dominance, to save face in front of the people now watching him like a courtroom jury. But something else crept in. Something colder. The realization that this wasn't a bar fight. This wasn't some random stranger he could intimidate. This was someone who didn't need to prove anything. Slowly, reluctantly, the man stepped aside. The aisle cleared. The crowd wakes up. That's when the murmurs started. Low at first, then louder. He really did that. I saw the whole thing. My God, she could have died. Phones were no longer hidden. They were raised openly now. A teenager leaned over to his friend and whispered, "This is insane." A woman near the back wiped tears from her eyes. That poor woman. The Rock turned slightly, addressing the bus without raising his voice. "Everyone stay calm," he said. "She's getting help." Then, his eyes returned to the man. "And you," he added, "are going to sit down." The man scoffed, trying to claw back control. "You don't tell me what to do." The Rock tilted his head. A tiny movement, barely noticeable, but somehow it shifted the air. "I wasn't asking," he said. The man tries to justify himself. The man laughed nervously. "Man," she was holding up the bus. "People gotta learn." A gasp rippled through the crowd. The Rock's jaw tightened. "Say that again," he said quietly. "What?" the man snapped. "Old people act helpless. Somebody had to. Stop." One word. Sharp. Final. The Rock stepped closer now. Not chest to chest. Not threatening. Just close enough that the man could no longer pretend this was a performance. "You don't get to decide someone's worth," the Rock said. "You don't get to decide who slows you down. And you sure as hell don't get to put your hands, or your feet, on someone who can't defend themselves." The man's voice wavered. "You think you're better than me?" The Rock held his gaze. "I know I am," he said, "because I didn't do what you did." Fear sets in. The man swallowed hard. For the first time since he boarded the bus, he looked small. His shoulders dropped. His bravado cracked. "You can't touch me," he muttered. "You lay a hand on me. That's assault." The Rock nodded. "You're right." Then he gestured toward the open door. "That's why I'm not touching you." The man frowned. "Then what?" The Rock glanced at the passengers. "At least 10 cameras," he said calmly. "Multiple witnesses. A driver who saw everything. And a woman outside who needs medical attention because of you." He looked back at the man. "You already lost." The driver finds his voice. The bus driver finally spoke. His voice shook, but was loud enough. "I called it in," he said. "Police are on their way." The man spun around. "You what?" "You assaulted a passenger." The driver snapped, anger breaking through fear. "You're done." The man took a step toward the driver. And that's when the Rock moved. Not fast. Not violent. Just one step. "Enough." The man stopped instantly. Hands raised. "Whoa, whoa," he said. "Everybody relax." The Rock didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't need to. The elderly woman speaks. From outside the bus, a weak voice called out, "Please." Everyone turned. The elderly woman was sitting on the curb, supported by a paramedic who had arrived quietly during the standoff. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. "I don't want trouble," she said softly. "I just want to go home." The Rock's expression softened instantly. He stepped down from the bus and knelt in front of her again. "You're not causing trouble," he said gently. "You didn't do anything wrong." She looked at him, eyes glassy. "I was just trying not to fall." That sentence hit the bus like a punch. The Rock closed his eyes briefly. Then he stood and turned back toward the man. The room shrinks. The man shifted his weight. Once. Twice. It was subtle, but the Rock noticed. So did everyone else. The confidence that once spilled out of him like noise from a broken speaker was leaking away now, replaced by something tighter, sharper. Panic tried not to show its face. "You just gonna stand there staring at me?" the man scoffed. The Rock didn't respond. That silence did more damage than any insult. The bus felt smaller now, like the walls had moved in a few inches while no one was looking. Every passenger could feel it, the sense that something irreversible had already happened, even if no one had said it out loud yet. A young woman near the middle clutched her phone so hard her knuckles turned white. An older man near the back shook his head slowly, over and over, like he was watching a tragedy he already knew the ending to. The man snapped his fingers. "Joe, I'm talking to you." The Rock finally spoke. "No," he said. "You're talking at me." The man tries a different angle. The man laughed again, louder this time. Too loud. "Man, this is crazy," he said, spreading his arms. Everybody acting like I committed murder. No one laughed with him. That silence rattled him. I didn't know she'd fall like that. He continued quickly. She tripped. That's not on me. A woman near the front stood up. That's a lie, she said, her voice shaking with anger. You kicked her. The man whipped around. Mind your damn business. It is my business, she shot back. We were all on this bus. The Rock turned slightly, placing himself between them without even looking at her. Easy, he said calmly, to her, not him. Then his eyes locked back onto the man. You see what's happening? The Rock asked. The man frowned. What? You don't control the story anymore. Power dynamics shift. The man scoffed, but his eyes betrayed him. They flicked around the bus, left, right, back toward the door. No exits. No allies. Every face was against him now. You think these people care? He snapped. They'll forget this tomorrow. The Rock took a step closer. Another one. Not aggressive. Deliberate. They won't, he said, because now it's not just about her. He gestured subtly to the crowd. It's about what you showed them. The man clenched his jaw. You don't know me. The Rock nodded slowly. You're right. Then he leaned in, just enough. But I know what you did. A bystander breaks down. A teenage boy near the back suddenly spoke. His voice cracked. She reminded me of my grandma, he said quietly. Everyone turned. The boy swallowed hard. She takes the bus every day. Same coat. Same bags. The elderly woman, still sitting outside on the curb, looked up when she heard his voice. Their eyes met through the bus window. She smiled weakly. The boy wiped his face with his sleeve. The man looked away. For the first time since this started, he couldn't hold eye contact with anyone. The man gets angry again. Man, shut up. He barked suddenly, rage flaring as fear tried to consume it. You all acting soft. He jabbed a finger toward the Rock. You think you're some kind of hero? The Rock didn't flinch. I'm not the hero, he said. She is. The man laughed bitterly. For what? Being old. For surviving, the Rock replied. For getting up every day in a world that doesn't slow down for her. For still trusting people enough to ride a bus. The man's face twisted. That's not my problem. The Rock's voice hardened, not louder but heavier. That's where you're wrong. Time stretches. Seconds passed. Long ones. The kind where every breath feels too loud. The bus driver checked the mirrors again. His hand hovered over the radio, sweat slick on his palm. Outside, traffic crawled past, oblivious. Life going on as usual, completely unaware that something profound was unfolding in this small, enclosed space. The man shifted again. You can't keep me here, he muttered. This is illegal. The Rock nodded. You're free to leave. The man blinked. What? The Rock gestured toward the open door. Go. The man hesitated, then looked past him to the sidewalk, to the elderly woman, to the paramedics now kneeling beside her, to the growing cluster of people filming from outside the bus. Suddenly, leaving didn't look like freedom anymore. You set me up, the man whispered. The Rock tilted his head. You set yourself up. The man's breathing became shallow. His chest rose and fell too fast. You don't understand, he said quietly now. I was having a bad day. The Rock's expression didn't change. So was she. That was it. That was the sentence that broke him. The man's shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him all at once, like air from a punctured tire. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance now, still far, but unmistakable. The man looked toward the sound, then back at the Rock, and for the first time, he said nothing.